I want to get into, I have Brian Casey in studio, local filmmaker, and his newest project is This Time Each Year. Let's talk about it. Let's give the synopsis to anybody that may be hearing about the project for the first time. What is This Time Each Year?
This Time Each Year is about two estranged brothers, played by Steve Vaughn and David Adams Murphy. And each year they meet at the grave of their deceased father. And they're struggling to find a common bond. One of them is a much more forgiving type. And, he understands the mistakes his parents made. And he's, accepted it. Whereas the other one, played by David Adams Murphy, not so much. He still holds the grudges. He still he tries to escape his past by just pushing his brother away instead of trying to bond. And that's actually David Adams Murphy is actually the older version of Noah's character, John.
So Noah, Maureen, and Bradley, how did you folks get involved in this project, and how did you, have you seen the finished product, and how do you feel about your performance?
I have not seen the finished product yet. I felt my performance was pretty strong in some areas. I had got feedback on some of the scenes that Brian had released to me through, I believe it was, some of them I believe are on Facebook. I'm not sure if that's...
we just have the trailer on Facebook.
Yeah, the show's on Facebook.
Nice.
And some of the scenes were released to me. And I was going to put them in a reel, but I'm waiting for the movie to come out before I put them in a reel. And so I got a lot of feedback by, I believe, my manager who saw one of the scenes. And she said it was a very strong scene of mine. And I believe that was pretty good.
Yeah. Maureen, you?
Yeah, I think each of the times I've worked with Brian, it's always on a film that, and especially with this one, it's got such emotional ups and downs in it, and I think some of it's even portrayed in Brian's real life, and it was almost hard to do some of it because it was so sad. I grew up with Ozzie and Harriet. My parents were just phenomenal. So here I am, a woman, a cheating woman, and it was so foreign to me. But I think with Brian's directing, he pulls out what he's experiencing, what he wants the actor to be and do. And, I think I was able to do it.
Yeah,
But
very well,
it's an
very
emotional
well.
roller coaster.
Yeah.
And is there a premiere scheduled, or is this going to be a New Year project?
Not yet. Right now, we're looking for soundtrack music, and we're putting in a score. And once that's finished, we'll announce a date and a premiere. Most likely at the Cable Car. That's where we usually go. But I also want to do a screening down in New York as well. So.
And that's for all the creative folks, whether it's music or filmmaking or writers, just having access to, again, being able to be in Boston one day and Rhode Island next day and New York the next day. We're incredibly blessed. When I talk to friends who live out in, I'm friendly with some bands who live out in the Salt Lake City, Utah area, and when they play a gig, right. As we would play a tour here, just to get from gig to gig. So Bradley, what was your role in the film, and how are you feeling about this project?
I loved this project, and the way I got introduced to Brian was pretty remarkable. He found me in a gutter.
That's how George and I became friends.
In New York, and dragged me out here. He said, "Listen, I can help you. We've got free munchies every time we film." So I got fed. Yeah, I met Maureen in another project that we'd worked on prior to this one, and we seemed to have pretty good chemistry. We played really nice people in that. This one
but I wouldn't let him talk now.
This one we don't really play nice people at all, and I'm a cheating husband, so I had to really dig deep to find that. But I'm realizing I play really bad guys well.
I'm starting to wonder if we have some liars here in the studio. Everyone digging deep to get these bad habits out from the core of their inner psyche. I don't believe this for 1 second.
I hate you already. I really do. No, that's really true. This came second nature. As a matter of fact, I have a probation hearing about 30 minutes.
Well, you know, coming from a pro wrestling background and a fan of pro wrestling, but as a wrestling character, it's always easier to play the bad guy than it is to play the good guy, and it's almost I don't want to say psychological. It's almost therapeutic sometimes to be able to go out and just play this nasty, despicable person.
I don't know. You got kind of a nice Michael Cera look to you. I like him.
So, Brian, this is the question. It's always a loaded question, but I always like to ask it of filmmakers and writers and musicians when they come through. Mm-hmm. And it's probably noticeable in your films, but are there any inspirations that you would point to of films you grew up watching and said, I want to pay a little bit of a tribute to that in my films?
I don't know. There are too many to list, to be honest. But it was originally horror films that got me into wanting to make films. In American Werewolf in London was one that really inspired me to go to FX school, which I attended down in Orlando. So I'd say that's probably what inspired me initially. I mean, as far as what films inspire me, I mean, I like Tarantino, I like Kubrick, I like Hitchcock. So I mean, there's so many, and more modern filmmakers as well, like Christopher Nolan, for instance. No, I don't think there could be any particular film that I'd be inspired by. I'd have to watch my films after, and then maybe I'll notice.
Sometimes, especially with music, it is sometimes subconscious. You know, you think you're onto this great riff and this great tune, and then you listen to it and you say, crap, this was off of the Ramones' Animal Boy. I just totally ripped them off. I want to thank you guys for coming in. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time. Most importantly, Brian, how do folks, if they're interested in crowdfunding, learning about your projects, checking out the reels, checking out the trailers, how do folks out there get a hold of you?
They can find me at briancaseyfilms.com. They can email me at briancaseyfilms@gmail.com. And actually, coming up, we have a casting call on November 21st from 1 to 4 p.m. It's on 209 Douglas Avenue in Providence. That's Rodywood / Brooklyn Coffee Tea House.
Nice.
The film project is called Paying Your Debts.
Oh, I should add the BrianCasey.com. Brian spells his name with a Y, so it's B-R-Y.
Yes.
Let's go to BrianCasey.com. Check out all the future releases, past releases, and anything that besides the casting call coming up, any other projects kind of in the hopper for you?
I'm currently writing my second feature film called Finding Surrogates, and I'm already lining up a third one that's going to be based on a novel, an award-winning novel by Kerry Singleton. He's an author in New York. So that's predominantly going to be shot in New York, but that one will definitely need money because we're going to be also going to L.A. and so.
Nice, thank you.
Anybody wants to give?
Now's the time to give, right?
Yeah.
The giving mood. Thank you guys again. Keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you.
Keep out there, pressing the flesh as it is. It's for anybody listening. I know a lot of folks who listen are into the creative side of things. It really is all about networking and just going out there and doing it and doing your thing and repping a good brand. And hard work does pay off.
Yes, it does.
That's my little Jerry Springer style wrap up. Thank you guys again. BrianCasey.com. George, thank you.
My pleasure.
Don't forget to go to Rhode-IslandFreeRadio.org and check out George's newest blog. It's called The Sorting Room. And Bradley, Noah, Maureen, thank you guys for swinging by. A great continued success in your endeavors. We're going to get back down to the local music as we wrap up this week's Tony Jones Show. Very rarely do I get out of here without playing a tune by one of my favorite local bands, The Evil Streaks. We're going to hear The Curse. Thank you all for tuning in. TonyJones.org, Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show, at Tony Jones NRI on Twitter. No program next week because we will be at Rhode Island Comic Con. So if you ever wanted to see my face for radio, you're going to have to come out to Rhode Island Comic Con next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Bye, everybody. Bye.
come.